Good evening and welcome to the January 27th Proctor Select Board meeting. If you'd all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business is to review and approve the agenda. A motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The January 13th regular select board meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And the January 16th special select board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Open public comment. Good stuff.
I want to mention Albert shared with me the junior senior band getting the 2025 award, a national award for their band for recruitment, engagement, and retention. So I thought that was fantastic. We're such a small school to get an award like that, so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. All right, moving on. The bills are circulating for signatures. And the first order of business would be to appoint Anthony Preston to the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. You know, this is just Planning Commission that you couldn't serve on the ZBA, right? Because you're the zoning administrator.
That makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Just as long as we have that clarification. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right, the Otter Creek Watershed Insect Control District response about Salisbury's non-payment. You had in your packet, kind of the synopsis of the email. I don't know, you want to give the synopsis again, just for the general public, Albert?
Yes,
Okay.
we will do that. Otter Creek Watershed is made up of 6-member towns, and those 6-member towns make up a union municipal district. The towns are Brandon, Goshen, Leicester, Pittsford, Proctor, and Salisbury. And the district provides mosquito control. We don't have healthcare services, we just do nuisance control. And so it's been brought up about the EEE being in the area, Salisbury, but again, and the state of Vermont doesn't share that health information with OCW, Otter Creek Watershed, because we are not in the health service. So, you know, if any information is coming, you read about it, about EEE, that information, where it is, you know, doesn't come to OCW, so we can't plan, or the OCW can't plan any mosquito spraying around those areas because they don't know where they exist. And the main goal is mosquito control. They do mosquito control with 2 different types, in larva form and adult form. And of course, the town options, they've got those costs broken down by adulticiding and larviciding. And the towns at the start of a fiscal year can decide which program or both they're going to apply for. And and OCW works on a calendar budget year, January 1st to the end of December, where some of the, I think 2 member towns also work on a calendar year. The others work on a fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th. So at the end of 23, when they came up with the budgets for the 6 municipalities, and they're prorated, for the services that are provided. All decided at that time that they were going to go with both. So the towns are allocated their portion of what they would pay for those services, and they would go into effect the 1st of January of 2024. And the towns like Proctor that are on a fiscal a year that starts July 1, well, that budget was approved for 2024, but because you get to allocate it in your next budget cycle, so it would be, the OCW fiscal year 2024, it's the municipalities that do our fiscal year, that's 2025. And Salisbury was, similar to Proctor, but they said they would pay their entire allotment on December of the end of the second quarter. So that's why when December of 2024 came, they decided because, and again, they had reasons for taking that position, and they felt that they didn't get the service that they thought they should get from OCW, so they were going to only pay for the larvicide program portion of it and the overhead associated with it. The larvicide program is 75% funded by the state of Vermont and 25% by OCW, where on the adulticide, the entire portion is supported by, the municipalities. The state doesn't put any money in towards it. So one member town, Salisbury, decided that because they didn't get any service from the 1st of July to that point in December, their select board voted that, hey, we're not going to pay you for the adulticide. And that total was, I just have to find it here, $17,868. So they decided they're not going to pay for the adulticide because they don't feel they got any service. And they were only going to pay for the larvicide portion and the overhead. So that being, nothing that OCW board has dealt with in the past, then it was brought to the attention of the executive board. The executive board says, we've never been down this road. We're not sure what we should do. And so they came up with some options. 3 options were to say, okay, you didn't get any service. We are going to, forget about it. You're in OCW in good standing. That was option 1. Option 2 was, no, we're going to tell them that they still owe us that $17,868, and they're going to lose your voting privileges in the OCW. And each town has 2 representatives, and Proctor's fortunate in that you have 2 representatives that go to the meeting, and we have an alternate that also attends the meetings. So we usually have our 2 votes, for issues that come up, at the OCW board meetings. And so they were going to lose their voting privileges. We were going to tell them that, yes, you still owe us the money, you lose your voting privileges, and there is still 6 months in the year that would be in 2025, January 1st to the end of June, they still would be eligible for the adulticide because that's what they said they would pay for. So, but we would also say that no, you're not gonna be eligible until we, get the money, because you said you were gonna pay it in full on December, and we only got the larvicide paid for, where Proctor, we pay it in quarterly installments. We pay 1/4 of our allocation every quarter. And they decided that they were gonna pay everything in December at the end of the second quarter. And then the third option was, okay, we're gonna take you to court. If that's the way you wanna play, then, we'll take you to court and get you to pay, that 17,000. So those are the three options that the executive committee came up. Then they said, okay, let's go to the full board and present it to them, hear their concerns, and give them an opportunity to come up with other alternatives over these three. And everybody had the opportunity, and everybody took the opportunity to speak at that special meeting. And there was a sense of that meeting that was, this is, the municipality's money. So, the representatives, it was a sense of those that we didn't want to make that decision. We wanted to go back and, talk to all of the boards and let them know what's going on and give them the opportunity to weigh in. And in that special meeting that we had to discuss this, there were no other proposals that were brought up. Everybody, the consensus of those in attendance was option 2 was the one that they would like to pursue. So that's what, the representatives were asked to do. Oh, Jeff's here. I didn't even see Jeff. Oh, my word. Our chairman is here. I didn't see him come in. I'm looking, at this way, and if you want to pick it up from here, Jeff,
Great job. You had it down pat. The only thing I would add is that I'm going to a bunch of the meetings, and the town of Leicester is their Selectboard meeting.
Jeff is the chairman of the
Okay.
OC.
and he is from Salisbury, but
I am from Salisbury.
but that doesn't matter.
So Leicester met, and they didn't make a decision. They're going to come back and talk about it again at their next meeting. But one of the ideas they threw out for a fourth option was hire a professional mediator and bring that person in and see if they could come up with some kind of a settlement. Obviously, as an expense out of our pocket, and we may not produce anything, but I just want to let you know that's one of the things they threw on the table during their meeting a week or so ago.
And who would be funding the mediator? All of us that are member towns?
I would think if you're going to go into a mediation that it come out of the OCW finances, maybe the town of Salisbury would put some money in towards it, 50-50 split on the mediation, if we were to go down that way.
Do towns sign contracts annually for what they, or is it just a verbal?
It's verbal.
So I would hope going forward, that would be the first change with the OCW that,
we get an email from each town saying what they're going to do. So Salisbury sent an email, their treasurer sent an email to our treasurer and said, we'll pay the whole amount December. So we have that document.
okay.
Same way we have one from all the other treasurers that said, they just tell us when the money's coming.
So if they don't pay the 17,000 plus, then you're not spraying come spring, correct? And if
We can make that decision.
right, and if they do, then you will spray.
Yeah, sure. If they were to write a check tomorrow for the money, we treat them through June.
I think the only problem I have as like town manager is that if they pay, spray. If they don't spray for them. But I feel like once you've committed to doing something, we're all kind of factored into it with our budgets. And when someone just pulls out like that, what if we all did that and we're left with a huge debt that how are we going to collect that? I would definitely avoid mediating and a legal approach because you're going to spend twice as much or more than what they owe you.
Yeah.
And you don't know the outcome. But I just think that going forward, I think just being commitment, and that's why I think like Lisa said with a contract, something in writing. This is a bound contract. You don't, if you renege on this, you're out. And once you're out, you're out. You don't get second chances to come back into the.
The problem with you can be out for service, yes, but you
Right.
can't be out of the OCW unless you go through a whole process of getting out.
Well, maybe that's the piece that needs to look at, because why would people continue to be allowed to be part of an organization that they're not paying any fees to? But you hesitated when she said you wouldn't spray them. So is it the intention of the OCW board that in number 2, if they don't pay the balance, that the only punitive would be that they don't get to vote, or that they don't get sprayed until they pay?
I would think, number 2, I believe, the way our board was looking at it is if we didn't receive any services, any money, so we're not gonna provide any services.
Well, it says no adult mosquito control.
Right. We have to provide the larvicide services. First of all, they paid for it, and second of all, our agreement with the state requires that we treat the entire geographic region. We're not allowed to only treat part of it. The grant tells us what we have to do. So they're going to get larvicide treatment. They paid for larvicide treatment. Even if they didn't pay for larvicide treatment, in order to fulfill our grant, we would have to treat Salisbury or any other town that didn't pay for larvicide services.
And are you allowed within the construct of how OCW is put together, since you've never had anything like this, there's nothing built in that says what the punitive measures are. So you're setting precedent, and so you have to create something going forward that says if you don't, so like if we were supposed to pay by December 19th and we said we're not going to pay December 19th, we've decided we're going to pay March 19th. Is there anything in your organization that makes that punitive?
No, and I think we'd be okay with that. I mean, the OCW, as long as the money comes into the treasurer, especially if it's coming in December, January, there's no mosquitoes. We're not spending money right now. Our problem is we just have to have enough cash on hand to get us from April 1 to Labor Day. So as long as we have the money, it really doesn't matter to us. That's why it says right in there, you just tell us when it's coming so we can plan for it. And as long as we have enough cash on hand, we can make it through the summer. There's been years where we've had bad mosquito years and everybody's paid, but we've still had bad years and the cash flow hasn't been able to keep up with the expenses and we've had to borrow money. And then we pay it back. So we either can borrow it from our capital funds account, which isn't very much, about $30,000, or we have a line of credit at the bank. We have to pay interest on that. So if we're not making it through the summer, and we have a cash flow problem in August, and the town just said, Proctor pays on the quarter. We know it's coming, but we don't have it. We have to do something to get through the heavy part of it. We spend all our money in 6 months.
I just think it like there has to be consequences, because again, if like say they pulled out, say we did, that's like $35,000 you don't have to put towards the spraying, and we just made that decision, and everyone else who is honest and good about paying their commitment, then it's just going to come back to bite them. Eventually, I would see people being like, I'm not part of it anymore.
Right.
I mean, if we're being, it's just like anybody in town paying, a water or sewer bill, So it's like we all pay it, and I'm not gonna foot the burden of my neighbor who doesn't pay theirs. So I don't know. I just think there needs to be something more concrete as far as consequences, so that this doesn't come up every time. You have something to go back on and say, the contract says this, and
Yeah, just so you fully understand, there's 2 documents that run the district. One is the agreement that the 6 towns entered into, and that's where you guys would put this type of rule. And then the other document is the operating document that the OCW board functions on to perform the service. But in terms of how you want to treat your member towns, you're one of 6. If the 6 of you want to, or 4 out of the 6 of you want to vote in some kind of amendment to that agreement to tighten this up or loosen it up or put constraints on people, that would be your choice. You guys would do that, and then you tell us, and then we develop bylaws to make sure that we follow what the towns want us to do. The towns created us, and we serve the towns, and so you give us directive, we're going to do it.
So you only have articles of agreement, you don't have bylaws for the OC?
There was articles of agreement that the 6 towns
Right.
select boards have.
Right.
And from those, our operating procedures are in our bylaws. The Board of Trustees creates the bylaws. But we couldn't, from our seat, put punitive measures on you. You'd have to do that amongst yourselves, and then say, we want you to enforce these. Once we had it, we could enforce it. We could do whatever you want. If it said you're gonna charge them an interest rate per month, if it's in the agreement, we put it in our bylaws that our treasurer will do it, and we do it.
I don't know, $17,000 is not a small amount. It seems it is concerning to me that there aren't any punitive measures in place. I don't see how you can fiscally justify hiring a lawyer or going to mediation. I mean, because those are funds that we are paying then. And actually, you could, as a governing board, determine that you were going to hire a lawyer and then say, we have to pay 1/6 of that. So, which, would be problematic. I also don't see how you allow a community to, I would like to see, I guess, going forward, something tighten it up so that maybe you have to tighten it up to the point where you do it more like how towns collect taxes. That if you pay 4 times a year, this is when X amount is due each time, and that's based on what you need to have as an operating capital to be able to go forward and perform your services. But it does seem kind of loosey-goosey to me, thinking that people just pay, they'll let you know when they're going to pay. That seems a little odd. I mean, from these, to me, the only realistic option is number 2. And I would certainly hope that, depending on what we choose, that that the governing board would hold tight to what the punitive measures are, not receiving spraying and not allowing their members to vote.
Just the whole piece about you telling us when you're gonna pay. I think 1 or 2 towns are on a calendar year and the other 4 are on a fiscal year. Mm-hmm. So it just worked out that we tried to go on quarterly payments and everybody balked at that. We heard from town managers from throughout the districts. We went back to, well, the agreement says, you tell us, you know what, we can make it work. As long as you tell us what you're gonna do and you hold to what you say.
Yeah, it works fine until you get into a situation like this.
Oh yeah, and that's not, no matter when, however we structure
Yeah.
it. If we say, even if we say quarterly and they say we're not sending the money,
Yeah.
then we're still up the creek, So we can function on you telling us what's best for you, but we can't function on, and of course we could. I mean, we didn't do a whole lot of work in Salisbury, so we only have a few $100 expended for what we did do. Maybe 1,000, let's say.
Yeah.
We might have $1,000 invested in Salisbury so far this year. And if we don't do any more work, it's not gonna break the bank that we didn't get the money from them.
That would be my concern if you went to mediation.
Yeah. I don't think mediation or court is the way to go. Because
That's problematic. That would be a problematic statement in mediation.
So you're right. So we're not going to be in financial trouble if Salisbury doesn't pay us and we don't provide any more services for them. The fact of the matter is that that's this year. Who knows what could be 3 years from now or somebody or somebody.
But the problem is, so let's say in 2 years they decide they want to come back and they want to pay the 17, and so
you got it.
It's like the punitive really wasn't punitive if they can pick up and come right back. So in the time that from this or from the date when they should have paid going forward, which I mean I guess is December because that's when they said they would pay, there's no real punitive because you're not charging interest. So that 17,000 could sit there for 5 years, and it's not growing. And then they could come back and say, well, we'll pay that and we're going to pay,
Well, I'm more likely, in the conversation I had with the Salisbury Selectboard, and they didn't realize this, I said, if you ever want back in, you've got to pay the 17,000 you didn't pay plus whatever the current going rate is.
Sure.
And I said, so effectively what you're doing to the town of Salisbury with this decision is you're opting out of delta siding forever.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to pay back the 17, especially if we don't provide any more services for the rest of the year and we tell you, you still got to pay the money to get back in, it's over. Salisbury will never get adult-decided again. So is that the decision that this board wants to make? And they hadn't realized it from that perspective. And so they're
Well,
still
and the
thinking
hope
through it.
is that your OCW board going forward holds to that.
Exactly right.
In 5 years, it could be different faces, and they may say, they've been punished long enough, we're going to absolve that $17,000. And so then you've set an even worse precedent, because what happens when a municipality gets into some kind of crunch? You know, mosquito spraying's a little bit like, you know, art in school, first thing to cut. So it would seem like that creates a bigger problem, because somebody now that's serving on the board says, well, that's not fair, we can't hold them because there's different people sitting at your select board and they didn't make the decision, and so we're punishing the people. I mean, so there's a lot of, I think personally, if you're going to start thinking about making changes in anticipation of something like this, that there should be a penalty to, even if you pay the back, you pay in addition to rejoin and receive services. So the punitive measure still has a little bit of a sting to it. So, I mean, honestly, when you look at the grid, a lot of us could say that for this past year, right? That there wasn't a lot of spraying. We heard it here constantly about, when are they spraying? When are they spraying?
See, a no mosquito year, we get this.
Yeah.
And this summer is gonna be bad for the coming year, it's gonna be bad for mosquitoes. What do you think Salisbury's gonna do?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like you have, it's just like snow. We have great years where you don't spend anything, and then you have years where you go over. So it's, you're kind of like buying, or, you know, into that it's going to be that kind of wave. But for them, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that was an eye opener for them when you said you have to pay the 17 to get back in. But you're hoping that your whole voting community continues to say that, you know, because they could come and say, you know, or I don't know, it seems like, you know, there's a lot of things they could do. They could go to the state and say that, you know, that the entire community is being penalized by the vote of, I don't know how many select board members you have, 3 or 5, and, you know, and have them overrule it because of the $17,000 and say, you know, I've seen stranger things happen. So it just seems like, if nothing else, that there does need to be some kind of, at the executive committee level or whoever, look at making some adjustments to either the articles of agreement, which is where I think it should be, in the articles of agreement, but
I agree.
what the punitive measure is for not paying. So, because bylaws can be changed pretty simply. Articles of agreement should have to be voted almost unanimously by your board.
The way they're written, it's 4 out of, the majority of the select board, so it'd be 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
To change that.
Yeah, so, if I was voting, and I don't know if people want to vote tonight, I would vote for 2, but I would vote for 2 hard and say that I want the OCW board to hold true to what the punitive measures are in 2. Jay?
I agree. I think so, yeah. And I think the contract mentioned is probably very important. I mean, if they're gonna commit, you gotta be on paper. And also, I don't know, listening as to how frequent it's being paid, whether it's quarterly, if it's, you know, at the end, in the middle. In my opinion, it should be right up front. You know, it should be paid in full up front, and then you get the service. If they have that option to pay down the road, and they change their mind, now you gotta revert back to a contract, the verbiage in a contract, then you may have to take legal measures to chase that around. So I don't know what the easiest route is for that, yeah. And I agree, again, what Tom was saying too, if we have a bad year, or if they have a bad year, they're gonna regret, I think, not being in this loop. And then, back to Lisa's point, you know, the people, it's up to the people, you know, the residents are, gotta have some say as to what's, I think, is going on, so it's, yes, number 2 is probably definitely the one I would select anyways, with, you know, some editing in that, you know, to hold them to where they need to be, whether it's a contract or tighten things down a little bit. Yeah.
I agree too, as far as the contract. But if they have a contract, I think that would give you a little more leeway on whether or not to pay in full or pay quarterly, if they had the contract to fall back on.
You could contract, right, and it all depends on how it's written, I suppose, as far as when it's being paid. But then again, you go back, if somebody opts to go out, there's always that loophole. You know? If you get payment up front, then you have it, then they don't have that option to say, okay, we're not gonna pay, we're gonna, you know, chase it down another avenue, but either way, it's, you know, it's however it's on paper.
We've always kind of been of the feeling that we work for the towns, so, you know, whether we gave them the option of quarterly or once a year, you know.
We pay quarterly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Proctor pays quarterly, yes.
and we've had this discussion in
And
our,
most towns collect quarterly anyway, so I'm surprised that so many people went back and had a fit about paying quarterly. I mean,
Well, look, for example, the town of Leicester only collects taxes once a year.
oh, really?
Yeah, that's, you know, not good for the money flow, I wouldn't think, but.
Not good for
Yeah.
the taxpayer.
Yeah. So, because they have other obligations, so they're paying those, so. Yeah, I mean, some budgets you front load, some budgets you don't, so. Albert?
well, I've already made my decision too, and, you know,
Bruce?
No, I think that's, that, number 2, motion that kind of everybody voted on, at the meeting, I think that's, we've got to put some pressure on them to pay this up, and, you can't let it, because first thing you know, you won't have any districts left. And, you know, they said they were gonna pay it, and that's the agreement that the board made, and I think they're gonna be held to it.
I mean, because in reality, what's making them, Salisbury, pay anything? So they've said they don't want to pay this, but Larvicide, they don't have to pay, you're obligated to doing it, so, I mean, they could step back for, even though they've already paid for that, the 7, but next year they could say, we're not paying that.
In 2021 was the first time that Salisbury decided that they wanted to amend the type of services they got. And the town voted not to pay anything that year.
Right.
But then the lawyers got involved, and our lawyers said, you know, you need to sue them and get the money. They've got to pay, because when we told the state what was going on, they said, well, you know, if you want to get this grant, we really don't care about your internal problems with your members. The grant says you're going to treat this geographic area, you're going to treat it. So when we went back to Salisbury, we said to them, listen, you know, in order to get the grant, we got to treat your area, so you're going to get treated for larvicide. They stepped right up and they said, you know something, we don't want to get services for free. What we really don't want is the truck spraying. If we have to pay for larvicide, we have to pay for overhead, we will do that. And so we went back, and that's when we started to break the budget into the 3 areas. And now we give each town an option. You can tell us, you got to pay for overhead, you have to pay for larvicide. That's one number. If you're in the district, you're in. And if you're out, you're out. So they did say that the first time in 2021,
Right.
but then they stepped right up to the plate. As soon as the dust settled and we realized where we were, they stepped right up and said, no, we will cut you a check for overhead and larvicide, and that's what they did again this time. So they understand that's a given. And I think all the select boards do now, because we've been around to talk about it enough. They say the only option you have is to opt out of adulticide.
Right. And I don't even know if we have that option, because we voted from the floor when we joined that we were going to do both when we talked about it. I don't remember what the article
I
said.
think it was
but-
more like if we just joined, I don't think it
It
had-
was
I
two,
don't know if
it was
split
two
up
articles that we
between-
voted from the floor though.
There
So-
was quite a number that voted for them.
Yeah, so, yeah, so I guess our direction would be to the OCW board that we would support number 2. And I would hope if, when member towns come back, if 2 is not, if, I guess, if the OCW voting membership picks an option that isn't punitive, that would come back to the select boards before a final decision is made.
Our representatives can make sure your thoughts are
Yeah,
voiced at the meeting.
Yeah. As Albert said, I think 2 had the most, I think there was only one person in the room who was voting for number 3. No one was voting for number 1, and most people were siding on the side of number 2. I think if that board has to vote, I bet pretty heavily they vote on number 2. The sanctions on the voting, that will be interesting. That really wasn't fleshed out in total, because the trustees could not service Salisbury, but they could allow them to continue to vote. I don't know where the board is. I don't know if you guys got a read for that as well. We didn't really talk about that. Everybody was pretty much on the same page that we're not going out there with the trucks and spraying.
That was part of.
Well, it says
option 2, so,
additional.
You know, so,
so I would hope that in whole, that both punitive measures would hold.
yes.
They wouldn't be sprayed and they wouldn't have voting rights. Because if you're required by the grant to spray the larvicide, that doesn't require them to have a vote in that. So it doesn't seem like that. It seems those 2 punitive measures should stay in place, I would hope.
But the way it's written it doesn't say they will, it says they could. So that,
Yeah.
if you want to make sure that they're suspended, you'd have to change that
Yeah,
to would.
The trustees have the option of imposing that if they choose.
right.
I think the executive committee felt that was the way to go. But the rest of the trustees would have to wait.
All right, so I think that's the direction of this board, that we support
I'm
2
clear.
and that we,
Chairman has.
and that we want, we would want their votes suspended, not possibly, but definitely, until the balance would be paid, so.
I'd like to thank the board for joining the district in spraying. You know, we've been doing it a few years now, and
Yeah,
summers are pretty nice. I think they're a lot better with.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big difference, it's a big difference,
Our river runs right through the middle of town,
yeah.
and we got some wet spots. So thank you.
You have tremendous representation. These 3 guys are there, if not all 3 of them, 2 out of 3 every meeting.
He's saying we're a pain in the ass.
So you probably know everything that I could tell you, but if there's anything else or any questions you have about how we operate or last year or what we've done so far, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but I'm sure these guys can.
No, Albert usually gives us a report, or Bruce, of what's going on when they attend meetings, and, yeah, I think in town, I mean, people are happy. I mean, we did get there were a lot of comments last year that
Certain,
People
we had
thought-
specific areas that had a lot of mosquitoes, and they said that no, they were never sprayed. But I
Yeah.
think throughout the town, people said I didn't see a mosquito all summer.
yeah, so it just kind of depended
So,
where you were.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just kind of off the record, ticks are becoming an issue. And some states, the mosquito districts treat for ticks. So in the future, I would hope we could do that, you know, down the road a ways.
yeah,
Yeah, ticks are nasty.
yeah. Well,
I'd rather have
start with the
mosquitoes.
states, see what kind of grants there are.
Well, the woman who oversees our program for mosquitoes is also overseeing the state program on ticks. So she knows about both of them. She knows that, you know, that they're coming, and so they're following the vector-borne diseases through both mosquitoes and ticks. So they're well aware of it up there in Montpelier. What they decide to do about it, I don't know. But they know about it.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thank you
you
for coming.
coming.
Thank
See
you,
you
Jeff.
guys in-
Thank you, Tom, for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bruce?
All right, town meeting discussion and logistics.
You asked for that to be on here.
Well, do we have a handout? It said handout from, A&E.
Yeah,
So-
didn't know if you want to talk about that was down below in the sewer.
Yeah.
But, as far as the logistics go, we have to record it and we have to have minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've always had to have minutes.
Right, but we never recorded it. So now you have to. So that's why I asked Kang TV to come.
Okay.
Because it'd be a lot easier if they're there filming it. Then, I mean, like we have a microphone, but trying to capture everybody in the room and
Yeah,
make
so
sure-
let's just confirm then, have Peg TV call and confirm with you.
Yeah.
Because if not, if not, we'll have to figure something else
Right.
out. So, okay.
Yeah. So,
And-
and that was another question as far as if you're taking minutes or if you needed
Yeah,
Celia to take minutes.
I can take them. It'll be okay. That'll give me something to do.
Okay.
And then we're gonna have, some extra town reports there.
Yep.
Right? And we're gonna have the handouts from A&E.
And I reached out, we're supposed to meet with him, I think next week or the week after, Kyle and I, and probably the other guys too from Water and Wastewater. But also I reached out to him to see if he's gonna do like a presentation, if he just wants, easels for,
Yeah,
putting things up. So I haven't heard back from him on that yet, so.
okay, yeah,
As
cause
soon
we'll
as he
need to
does.
know if they need to have the screen down or
Right.
something there. Could we also maybe have like, boards made up, like, not boards, but like boards, that say like we're seeking, members or to committees, whatever those are, that we
Okay.
still have openings for.
All right.
And then maybe, that we're looking for lifeguards and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of like what you have on the homepage of the website.
Right.
And then maybe something at the bottom of that, the website, email or something
Okay.
too. Just to have, and we could put that on an easel just in the room. And we
Okay.
could even have that up next day for voting
Yeah.
too. So, I think that might be nice to do.
Okay.
Are we gonna do, a food drive like we've done in the past? We haven't done it for a while. Do we wanna do that?
Yeah, we haven't done that for,
Or reach out, Sarah Harrington's like the, food shelf.
right?
In Pittsford?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it used to be, remember when Robin, they'd always send a thing and challenge, Proctor's challenging Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would be, but I mean,
Might be nice to bring a perishable item.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would too.
we could do it Monday night also, start collecting, so.
Yeah. that's
Okay,
true.
maybe I'll reach out to her and I can get, a list of items. And then we can post that.
Okay.
And we're filling out the paperwork so we can be over at the school for the use form. And then what else do we need to have like what other kind of flyer things do we have that we can put out? Do we have anything else?
No, I would say the big thing is, I don't want to put too much out there so people just gotta go, oh.
No,
I'd
no.
rather focus on like the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
And then, the vacancies.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay, anything else that people think we should have available? Have, I don't know, on a sign, flyer, something for people that are coming to town meeting?
If they do a bake sale, that's strictly the school, right?
Yeah, yeah. I can ask them. I don't know what they haven't done that in a while either.
The last voting thing they did, but it wasn't, it was just donations.
Oh, yeah. They're not as strict as some of the classes that came before them.
Maybe I should have a bake sale.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. All right, that sounds good. And then, so it starts at 7, so it's nice if you get there like I don't know, like 6:30 or something. Oh, the other thing was, do we think we're going to have senators that speak?
I don't know, I've reached out to them, I haven't heard from any of them.
Okay. That would be the only thing. I didn't know if Alicia might come, like, because Butch used to always come.
Yeah.
Or anybody else. So that would be the only thing to kind of be nice to know. And then if they are coming, to keep it to, like 5 minutes or something like
Right,
that.
and that's
So,
usually Andy takes care of all that.
Yeah.
So we just go through like the meeting, but if they show up, he lets them go first,
Yeah.
but limits them to like 2 minutes, 3 minutes each,
okay.
so,
All right. I didn't know if they'd reached out.
no.
Okay.
This is on the 3rd, right?
This is on Monday night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Sounds good. All right. A motion would be in order at 6:45 to enter the Board of Water Commissioners.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anything in water?
Not well. I was gonna mention it in my manager's report, but we had a, water leak down off of, on Route 3, right past the farm. So the guys have been checking into that. Last Friday, we were checking with the state to see if there was a pipe that was broken under the road, if the state would be in charge of hiring somebody to come in.
So where was this?
Right past the farmhouse on Route 3, past Deerwood Lane. Hillary's farm.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, north.
Okay. I'm going towards and I'm like, where's the
I'm going to sit
farm
around and
over
think the fire,
Like, what
then
is,
we'd have
what
water
does she think
lines.
the
Found
farmhouse
on Route
is?
3 now. And so I reached out to the state and they said that that's on us. They said, it's all on you. It's your water pipe, it's your problem. So, but we
Well,
had to
wait, why do we still have active?
well, that's the thing. And that's one thing I think we need to discuss down the road and develop that whole situation. So come to find out, it was gonna be, we needed to hire somebody to excavate, dig up the road. It was gonna cost a fortune, get the pipe,
Tap it.
do whatever. But, we were able to get to the pipe without going under the road. There's a culvert.
Yeah.
And we could do a shut off there. So when they're going in, capping it off, and then, there'll be a boil water they found a main to shut off that's right at the edge of someone's backyard or garden. So we can shut that off, so it'll just be Garden Street, Newton Street, and the farmhouse. That will have to boil water. They're gonna do it tomorrow, get it done, and then they're driving it over to get tested. And so they should have the results, and the ban should be lifted Wednesday by 4. So,
Okay.
but it's definitely an agenda item down the road about water going into Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even understand that. After all the lawyers' fees that were paid for that, that is astonishing to me. Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right, motion would be in order to leave the Board of Water Commissioners and enter the Board of Sewer at 6:48.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
So we had about Aldrich and Elliott in there, so, just for the handouts, and then again, we're meeting with them in the next week or two to just go over kind of like the plans, the designs, and what's next, to be prepared for a town meeting, but also for the project going forward.
Okay. And who's meeting? You and Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle, and I'm guessing I would probably want Rob and Nick there as well, and Jeff Lewis.
Okay. And then you'll know from that meeting who's gonna be at town meeting to answer
Yeah,
questions and
yeah.
all that. Okay, great. All right, anything else in,
No, I don't think so.
okay. Anything else for Judy and sewer? Okay, motion would be in order to leave sewer and re-enter the select board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, sheriff's report was in the packet. Any questions on that?
No, I see they nailed somebody for $800, so I'm glad, and some other fines, so I think that's great. We're keeping track of things, and I think they must be doing a good job if they're getting some stops that have are meaningful, and maybe it'll wake people up.
It might be nice if sometimes the sheriff just swings by town meeting, just, you know, even if he's there for 5 minutes or
Yeah.
something, just as a presence.
No, I think that'd be great. We haven't seen them for a while.
All right, town manager's report.
All right, I received the proof today for the annual report. It's back out and I should have, they're shipping it out to me by February 6th. So we should have it plenty of time before our town meeting, so that's a good thing. I sent the letter out regarding the abatement of the water and sewer at 45 Patch. There's somebody interested in the position at pool director for the summer this year, so hopefully I'll get to have a conversation with that person and see where that goes. I've also reached out for training for lifeguards and also potential spillover from Rutland if they have any lifeguards that they aren't using or don't need. So she's going to be doing training in May and June, and she'll keep me posted for that.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to be advertising for that. Like, I'm going to put it out on the website, but I feel like we have a lot of heavy things going on the website right now that just might be kind of overshadowed, overlooked. But I'm definitely going to get it out there for the lifeguards, just so that we can get
And maybe
noticed
send it to the
beforehand.
school, she could put it in her newsletter
Yeah.
again too.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Trying to think where, like locally, where else, or, I don't know, Front Porch Forum, sometimes, can you put stuff on there? I mean, you can put stuff on there without having a,
I think they used to belong. I still get it, but I don't know.
yeah.
If I
Well, if you put something together and send it to me, I can send it to places like that, so, cause that hits some other communities too, so.
yeah, and maybe like a Facebook page or something.
And what, the pool, we're thinking what, days this year, did we decide that?
No, I'm waiting till I hire a director and staff. But last year it was, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Wednesday started to 2, but we left Sunday open.
Yeah,
So I think a lot depends on who the staff is and who the director is.
yeah, but Wednesday, yeah, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday till 2 last year? Saturday till 2?
No, it was open till 6.
Oh, it's opened
Moved
at
to
2.
6.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Reached out to bond council. I could have mentioned this in the special meeting. I can't remember at this point. Regarding the posting of the wording and next steps. So they've kind of walked me through and helped me with that. We talked again today. I'm going to be posting the town meeting warning and the bond warning this week. We're going to put it here, the library,
Post
the
office.
post office. I'm putting it at LaFawn's. I'm putting it at the school and Franklin's. So they recommend 5 places plus the website, and then maybe on Facebook too if we want to post it out there.
And what about in the reporter?
And it's going in the reporter, but
Okay.
not until February.
Okay,
We're putting it in the reporter 3 weeks in a row, every week,
yep,
same day. So that'll be that'll give us time before. There's guidelines before. You can't have too much before the meeting and too
Yeah.
close to the meeting. So that'll be on February 12th, 19th, 27th. Let's see, I've been working on analysis on the phone contracts because there seems to be charges on both companies that I'm kind of frustrated with. So I'm going to try to figure that out with them and expect somebody to credit us. So I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I just don't think it's fair that the lines are basically changed over and they're both charging us for the same line. So it's been kind of a nightmare, but
I'm sure that'll be fun, like dealing with Comcast would be my guess.
I know.
Oh, it's not Comcast.
Well, I know, but I have a feeling it's probably the same kind of conversation.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Salt budget's still good. We've spent salt, but we're still under budget. It's just, we're actually using more salt than we would if we had big blizzards. Because when there's a big snowstorm, they plow and they're not using the salt. They're plowing the roads and then they salt once the snow stops. Whereas we've had, quick snowstorms come up, they salt, it stops. Hour later, there's another snowstorm, comes up, freeze it. So they've been doing a lot of that maintenance work with that, so. But they've been keeping up really good with everything, so.
So. Any questions for Judy?
No, I think everybody's on the highway and wastewater have been doing a great job on roads and everything. So, great job, and sorry I couldn't be here, but I didn't want to pass this on to anybody, and so glad I could get in and put a couple of comments in. But thank you all, and
Thank you, Bruce.
I'm like getting right down to the end here, so.
Okay. Anything for Judy? Okay. Old or new business, the MRP apps submitted? Or Proctor?
No, I'm not sending them in tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm waiting for one more quote, which I reached out today and wanted it today and I haven't gotten it.
Okay.
So I have all the letters scanned and everything ready to go. So
Okay.
they'll be out in the morning.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Future agenda items? No? Okay. All right. Motion will be in order at 6:56 to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? All right. We are adjourned.